No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it is not the same river, and he is not the same man. Heraclitus. There are years in history that feel almost cursed. Years when the sky darkened without warning, when disease moved faster than armies, when harvests failed, oceans swallowed ships, and entire cities vanished beneath ash, famine, or silence. For most of human history, ordinary people lived with the understanding that the world around them could end suddenly, not in some distant future, but tomorrow morning. A farmer in medieval Europe could spend years building a life, only to watch it disappear beneath drought or plague. A mother could wake beside healthy children and bury them before the week ended. Entire villages vanished so completely that forests eventually swallowed the roads leading to them. History often remembers kings and empires, but catastrophe is usually experienced by ordinary people. In the year 536, much of the world entered what historians sometimes describe as one of the darkest periods in human history. Ancient writers spoke of a strange fog spreading across the sky, dimming the sun for months. Temperatures collapsed, harvests failed. Famine spread across continents already weakened by war and disease. To those living through it, the world itself must have seemed broken. The Roman philosopher Seneca once warned that fortune behaves like glass, brilliant for a moment, shattered the next. Yet every generation quietly convinces itself that stability is permanent. Human beings build cities, monuments, and kingdoms, slowly forgetting how fragile civilization truly is. Then history reminds them. In 79 AD, the people of Pompeii woke beneath the shadow of Mount Vesuvius, believing it was an ordinary day. Markets opened. Children played in the streets. Bakers prepared bread for customers they would never see again. By evening, ash covered the city. Thousands died without understanding what was happening around them. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer believed human life swings endlessly between suffering and illusion. Perhaps the illusion people cling to most desperately is the belief that disaster belongs to another age. But history repeatedly destroys that illusion. In the 14th century, the Black Death transformed Europe into something almost unrecognizable. Streets emptied, churches filled with the dying. Priests buried bodies until there was nobody left to bury them. Some believed God had abandoned humanity entirely. Others believed the apocalypse had arrived. And yet, life continued. Markets still opened. Candles still burned in windows. People still fell in love beside collapsing worlds. Perhaps that is the strangest thing about human beings. Even during catastrophe, they continue pretending tomorrow exists. In 1816, after a volcanic eruption on the other side of the planet, much of the world entered what became known as the Year Without a Summer. Snow fell in June, crops failed across Europe, skies turned grey for months. Starvation spread through villages that had already survived war and poverty. The natural world itself began to feel hostile. Thomas Hobbes wrote that civilization exists to protect humanity from a life that is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. But history repeatedly reveals how thin that protection truly is. One failed harvest, one plague, one winter, and ordinary life begins to collapse. Even the modern world was not spared. In 1918, as the First World War ended, the Spanish flu swept across the planet with terrifying speed. Millions survived the trenches, only to die from disease weeks later. Cities filled with silence. Hospitals overflowed. Families spoke to one another through windows, terrified of human contact itself. Every generation believes itself safer than the last. Every generation is eventually humbled. The philosopher Blaise Pascal believed human beings fear silence because silence forces them to confront their own fragility. But history leaves behind another kind of silence, the silence of abandoned homes, empty streets, ruined cities, and forgotten graves reclaimed slowly by grass and dust. We walk through ruins today and call them history, but to those who once lived there, those ruins were home. And perhaps that is the final lesson cursed years leave behind. Civilization is not permanent. Safety is not permanent. Even memory is not permanent. Human beings survive by believing tomorrow will come, and history survives by reminding them that one day it may not.